Whoa, here comes Godzilla again! But here's why Godzilla Minus One looks to be the most interesting take on the monstrous kaiju in years. Godzilla Minus One had its theatrical debut in Japan on November 3, 2023, the same day that the original Godzilla was released in 1954. Before this, the film had its red carpet premiere in Tokyo on October 18th and will act as a closing film at the Tokyo Film Festival. Minus One will have its North American debut on December 1st. Following Toho's Shin Godzilla, the studio announced that it would not be able to produce another live-action Godzilla film until after 2020, as part of its deal with Legendary Pictures, producers of the MonsterVerse. During that time, the company primarily turned to making anime content featuring Godzilla for Netflix, including a 3D animated film trilogy released between 2017 and 2018, and the series titled Godzilla Singular Point. It wouldn't be until November 3, 2022 that a then-untitled Toho-produced Godzilla film was announced to commemorate the franchise's 70th anniversary. While the Godzilla franchise has long explored humanity's relationship with nuclear weapons, only the original 1954 film directly contends with the post-war trauma experienced by Japan. At the time, the devastating 1945 atomic bomb attacks of Hiroshima and Nagasaki was still fresh in the minds of audiences. Godzilla stood as a living, breathing metaphor for the unforgiving destruction that such super weapons can create, which is part of what has helped the Kaiju King stand out from other movie monsters. Godzilla Minus One seems to be taking this a step further, taking place in the direct aftermath of World War II, as Japan is still recovering from the devastation. There may even be a darkly spiritual side to the story, as writer and director Takashi Yamazaki has been open about finding inspiration from 2001's Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, giant monsters all-out attack. The film sees the forgotten souls of World War II soldiers possess and use Godzilla as an instrument for their revenge. Whichever direction it takes, Godzilla Minus One is shaping up to be amongst the most chilling entries in the franchise.
It's Godzilla!
Starring in the lead roles of Godzilla Minus One are Ryunosuke Kamiki and Minami Hamabe. The two characters are war survivors who meet each other in a devastated Japan. The two actors starred alongside one another in the drama series Ranman, but were offered their roles in Minus One before working on the show. Kamiki became well known for voicing several characters for Studio Ghibli during his younger years. His first was Bo, the giant baby from Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away. Over the years, he voiced characters in other Ghibli films, such as Howl's Moving Castle and The Secret World of Ariete, as well as other notable anime films, such as Summer Wars, Your Name, and Suzume. He also appeared in other well-known Japanese franchise entries like Kamen Rider Agito, Doraemon, The Beatles Dinosaur 2006, and Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0, Thrice Upon a Time. In 2006, he earned a Japan Academy Film Prize as Best Newcomer of the Year for his role in The Great Yokai War. Hamabe had been active in the industry since 2012, but became widely recognized for her role in 2017's Let Me Eat Your Pancreas. The role earned her a newcomer prize from the Japan Academy Awards in 2018. She has since starred in numerous films and TV shows, including Minus One, Takashi Yamazaki's 2019 film The Great War of Archimedes, and 2023's Shin Kamen Rider. Directing Godzilla Minus One is prolific filmmaker Takashi Yamazaki. Along with directing the movie, he also wrote the film's screenplay and supervised its visual effects. Yamazaki has become a celebrated director throughout Japan. After working at the animation house Shirogumi in the late 1980s, he ventured out to create his own films, starting with the 2000 sci-fi fantasy Juvenile. Yamakasi gained notoriety after helming 2005's Always Sunset on 3rd Street. The film won big at the Japan Academy Awards, taking home 12 prizes, including a Best Director and Screenplay win for Yamazaki. He went on to helm its two sequels, with 2007's Always Sunset on 3rd Street 2 having a notable cameo from a fully computer-generated Godzilla towards the beginning. He has also successfully adapted several notable anime and manga titles, such as 2010's Space Battleship Yamato, 2014's Stand By Me Doraemon, and 2019's Lupin III: The First. Yamazaki also had a hand in creating Godzilla the Ride, Giant Monsters Ultimate Battle, for the Seibuen amusement park in Tokyo. In the film's official press release, Yamazaki shared, "I think this is a culmination of all the films I have made to date and one that deserves to be experienced rather than watched in the theater. I hope you will experience the most terrifying Godzilla in the best possible environment." Yamazaki is also credited as the sole screenwriter of Godzilla Minus One. Following his 2019 film The Great War of Archimedes, Yamazaki was picked to take on Godzilla -1, and it took him 3 years to complete the script. Interestingly, Godzilla -1 has 2 very different ratings depending on where you see the film. The Film Classification and Rating Organization, also known as ARIN, in Japan granted the film a G classification. Meanwhile, -1 has been given a PG-13 rating by the Motion Picture Association in the United States. The MPA bestowed this rating upon the movie for its creature, violence, and action. This drastic difference in film ratings is certainly interesting to compare. A G rating wouldn't seem weird for some of the more family-oriented Godzilla entries, but Godzilla -1 is an entirely different beast, judging from the trailers alone. Ratings of the previous Godzilla films aren't widely available, so it's hard to determine how -1 stacks up in this department. Compared to some of the other more mature efforts within the franchise, the film will likely contain its fair share of harrowing moments, but the overall experience shouldn't deter younger viewers. In the end, it is ultimately up to parents to know how much their children can handle. While Godzilla -1 appears to be a standalone entry, the film's arrival is a great opportunity for newcomers to the long-running franchise to see what all the fuss is about. With over 36 films and counting spanning nearly 70 years, the good news is that the series, which is split into 4 distinct eras known as Showa, Heisei, Millennium, and Reiwa, doesn't share a singular continuity, and you can watch nearly any entry out of order. Ishiro Honda's 1954 Godzilla is a must-watch, not only for introducing the iconic character, but also for its cultural and social significance in the grander context of cinema history.
Nothing can save the city now.
Heisei installments that are worth checking out include Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah and Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, and Godzilla Tokyo SOS are amongst the standout films in the millennium. The Reiwa era that -1 is part of currently consists of Shin Godzilla and an anime trilogy starting with 2017's Godzilla Planet of Monsters and ending with Godzilla the Planet Eater. Before the American release, Godzilla -1 earned a solid 4 out of 5 fan rating on Japanese review aggregator Filmmarks, barely higher than the critically acclaimed Shin Godzilla. Critics have been similarly complimentary. Polygon's Chris Plant praised the film, calling it the throwback Godzilla fans have been waiting for and saying that it faithfully follows up on the success of Shin Godzilla. Richard Eisenbeis of Anime News Network called the movie fantastic, writing, "Its premise is a great one, and watching the various characters come together to try to defeat Godzilla when their resources are so limited is incredibly engaging." Even Gareth Edwards, director of 2014's Godzilla, has spoken out in celebration of the film. He told Japan Cinema Today, "There were a lot of things that I felt were very new for Godzilla, and I felt jealous the whole time I was watching the movie. This is what a Godzilla movie should be." For decades, Godzilla movies were defined by the other kaiju involved: Godzilla vs. Mothra, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Godzilla vs. Megaguirus, and many others all brought in titanic foes for Godzilla to fight. Sometimes he was a hero, sometimes he was a villain, but these battles were a constant centerpiece regardless of the plot. That approach has remained central to the MonsterVerse version of Godzilla, but the Japanese Reiwa-era films, Godzilla movies produced from 2016 onwards, have largely drifted away from the monster versus monster structure of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Like Shin Godzilla before it, Godzilla -1 only features one kaiju, the big guy with his name on the poster. Though it's set in a very different point in time than its immediate predecessor, -1 is still focused on humanity's struggle against Godzilla. Both recent live-action films from Toho take a more thematically rich approach, with Godzilla being as much a symbol of real-world issues as he is a giant monster. When the story revolves around a giant kaiju doll, those more literary ideas can be harder to explore. Fans of the old movies might be disappointed that we're only getting Godzilla here again, but there's still hope that Toho could produce a classic kaiju battle at some point in the future. We've had them in recent anime movies in the MonsterVerse, but Toho hasn't featured a live-action kaiju battle for Godzilla since 2004's Godzilla Final Wars. Since Godzilla -1 is a new independent story, fans might be wondering what version of the famous kaiju we're getting. While the trailers feature some good shots of the big guy, they keep his full form somewhat hidden, leaving it for the movie to unveil. Godzilla diehards know that the king of the monsters has gone through many iterations. From his original rubber suits to the slim, blue-fired form of the Heisei-era films, to the beefier orange-fired version seen in Godzilla 2000, to the mountainous iteration of the Monsterverse. That's without even mentioning more isolated versions like the purple-tinged Lovecraftian look of Shin Godzilla, or the 300-meter-tall anime incarnation known as Godzilla Earth. In Godzilla -1, the fire-breathing lizard has gotten yet another makeover, but it pulls clear inspiration from previous versions. His head and upper body are significantly more muscular than they were in Shin Godzilla, making him resemble both the Godzilla 2000 design and Monsterverse version. We also see that he has his traditional blue atomic fire this time around, as opposed to the purple blast from Shin. A new addition is how the spines on Godzilla's tail extend while charging up their projectile attack. Still, the -1 design retains the shorter arms and upright posture of the classic rubber suit films, paying tribute to the series' past. Ever since 2004's Godzilla Final Wars, Toho has refrained from starting a new live-action saga. Even that film was more of a homage to the entire series' legacy than a direct sequel to its predecessors. The trilogy of anime Godzilla films will share a core story and continuity, but many fans still view them as side projects. On the live-action side, Shin Godzilla rebooted things completely, and now Godzilla -1 is rebooting them again. Godzilla is an unknown quantity in both films, rather than the familiar threat he is in most of his movies. This angle fits with the movie's lack of other kaiju characters. But with Toho now back on a somewhat regular release schedule and the financial success of the Monsterverse, it's possible that we could get a proper live-action continuity in the future. Could -1 be the start of a new Godzilla series? That remains to be seen. Its setting in the wake of World War II aligns it with the beginnings of the franchise, which could make it an optimal foundation to build on. At the same time, that setting is very thematically specific, so it doesn't necessarily foreshadow a direct sequel. The Reiwa era has been defined by independent projects that all put a different spin on Godzilla himself. That may continue to be the case after Godzilla -1.